Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and really get to the heart of what you need to know. Today, we're diving into artificial intelligence in 2025. And wow, the pace is just incredible. What felt like science fiction, maybe even last year, is now. Well, it's becoming standard. We're seeing personalized AI co-pilot PCs popping up everywhere, powerful AI models running right on your device, offline. It's fundamentally changing how industries work, how we create things, how we communicate. It's not just fast progress anymore, is it? It feels like a total shift.
It really does. And that sheer speed, that power, it brings us right to the core tension we need to explore today. These amazing benefits, this transformative potential, it absolutely comes with some very real, very pressing legal and ethical questions. It's a classic double-edged sword.
Exactly. Power and responsibility hand in hand.
Precisely. Which is why this deep dive feels so timely, so necessary right now. We're going beyond just the headlines to really dig into AI Ethics 2025, navigating legal risks and AI-generated content. We've pulled together insights from a range of really solid sources to give you that 360-degree view. Our mission, really, is to pull out the crucial nuggets. We want you to understand not just what's happening because things are moving so fast, but why it matters. And maybe most importantly, how you can start preparing for what's next. Because these questions about, say, copyright or deepfakes or global AI rules or bias and algorithms, these aren't theoretical anymore. They're here. They're real-world problems we need to tackle now.
Right. So we'll be looking at those copyright puzzles, the whole deepfake threat, which seems to be growing, the big push for global rules, and that really tricky issue of algorithmic bias. It's not just tech talk. It's about society, law, our daily lives. Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this. So, starting with that AI landscape in 2025. The speed is just phenomenal. It feels like constant acceleration, not just steady progress. This year, we've really seen AI become both incredibly powerful, but also somehow more accessible, right?
Absolutely. That accessibility piece is key.
You have these AI co-pilot PCs becoming more common, sitting on your desk. And then there's the on-device AI, models running locally, keeping your data private, not needing the cloud. That's a huge shift. It puts serious AI power into, well, millions of hands. It's not just in labs anymore. It's accelerating workflows, automating tasks, creating these super personalized experiences we couldn't have imagined just a couple of years back.
And the headlines just keep coming, reinforcing that pace.
Exactly, like Google announcing Gemini 2.5 Pro, calling it their most intelligent AI model yet. OpenAI apparently prepping GPT-5 for launch, maybe even this summer. You see NVIDIA hitting a $4 trillion market cap. That's just staggering. It shows the sheer belief and investment flooding into AI.
That's a huge signal, yeah.
And then you hear someone like Mark Benioff at Salesforce saying AI is already doing up to half the work in his company. That's massive. We're seeing AI bots generating more web traffic than humans in some cases. And did you see that Italian newspaper, Il Foglio? They published a whole edition generated entirely by AI.
I did see that. Quite the milestone.
It shows it's everywhere. WhatsApp using AI for summaries, AI startups tackling infrastructure. It feels like a total societal rewiring happening right now.
And that brings us neatly to the other side of the coin, the flip side. These huge advances, they bring equally huge and really urgent legal and ethical challenges right alongside them. What's striking is how quickly these issues, copyright for AI art, stopping deepfakes, getting global agreement on rules, have gone from being, future concerns to now concerns. They're not just for academics in ivory towers anymore. Governments, big tech companies, researchers, they're all scrambling to build guardrails. They're trying to find that balance, right? Protect innovation, but also minimize the potential harms. And it's not just a tech problem, is it? It's fundamentally societal. It touches on trust, truth, basic rights.
That really hits home. It's not just code. It's about us, about society. But given that speed you mentioned, how can regulations possibly keep up? It feels like trying to regulate a bullet train after it's left the station.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's exactly why we're seeing this intense regulatory race. You're absolutely right. The sheer explosion of AI-generated stuff, text, images, audio, video, it has just blown past what our existing laws were designed for. Think about it. Our laws were built around human creators, human actions, human timescales. AI operates on a whole different level of speed and scale.
So policymakers are playing catch-up.
Big time. They're scrambling to draft completely new frameworks, trying to plug the gaps, essentially, to protect both the people creating things and the people using them. We're seeing things like the EU AI Act moving forward, even with pushback from industry. That shows you how serious they are about getting something in place. The real challenge isn't just writing laws. It's writing laws that won't be obsolete almost immediately in this field. Future-proofing is incredibly hard here.
And what are the main things they're wrestling with? What are the key areas under the microscope?
Well, there are a few big ones. First, as you mentioned, intellectual property for AI creations. If an AI paints something, who owns it? The prompter, the
Yeah.
developer, the AI company, the AI itself. Our current laws mostly say only humans can own copyright.
That's a fundamental challenge to the old way of thinking.
It really is. Then there's data privacy. These models train on mountains of data, often scraped from everywhere. How do we make sure personal data isn't misused? How do we ensure it's anonymized properly, handled ethically, legally, especially when it comes from millions of people? And finally, transparency, especially for AI systems making big decisions in finance, healthcare, hiring. People need to know how these systems work, why they make the decisions they do. We need that visibility.
It sounds incredibly complex, especially trying to get everyone on the same page globally.
Exactly. And that's why you hear this growing call for uniform global regulations. Organizations like the OECD's AI Policy Observatory are really pushing for this, because without some international agreement, you just create chaos. Imagine trying to operate a business where your AI product is legal here, but illegal somewhere else.
A nightmare for compliance.
Completely. A patchwork of compliance rules, as they call it. It would stifle innovation, create huge legal risks, and just slow everything down.
Can you give us an example of how some regions are tackling this? You mentioned the EU AI Act.
Right, the EU AI Act is probably the most prominent example right now. It's set to be fully implemented this year, 2025. It's groundbreaking because it takes a risk-based approach. It basically categorizes AI systems: minimal risk, limited risk, high risk, unacceptable risk. And the rules depend on the category. So high-risk systems, think AI and medical devices, critical infrastructure, maybe law enforcement, face really strict rules.
Like what kind of rules?
Things like robust risk assessments, mandatory human oversight, using high-quality training data to minimize bias, detailed record keeping, and high levels of transparency. They even outright ban systems deemed unacceptable risk, like government social scoring or certain uses of real-time biometric ID in public. It's a serious attempt to impose order and safety. Of course, there's pushback. Industry worries about the compliance costs, whether it might slow down innovation too much. But the direction is clear.
And connecting this back to our listeners, why should someone running a business or even just using these tools care about these regulations?
Because without clear rules, especially harmonized rules, businesses face huge uncertainty. Do you invest in developing this AI feature if you don't know if it'll be legal next year? Do you deploy this tool if the compliance burden is unknown or potentially massive? That uncertainty chills investment, delays projects, and ultimately means innovation stalls. So the benefits of AI might reach us slower, or they might come with risks we didn't anticipate. It really does affect everyone.
Okay, let's pivot to one of those really tricky areas you mentioned: AI, creativity, and copyright. This feels like a legal minefield. AI is composing music, creating visual art, writing text. It's putting immense pressure on laws written for human creators. That core question, who owns the AI's art, seems largely unanswered. And we see it happening now, right? AI music creators are emerging, Netflix using generative AI in programming. It's not hypothetical.
Not at all. It's happening daily. And that who owns it question, it really does strike at the heart of copyright law's traditional foundation, the human author. The fundamental problem is that gap. Most legal systems require a human being with creative intent and intellectual effort to be the author and copyright holder. And AI, being non-human, doesn't fit that model. So the framework kind of breaks.
How are legal minds trying to bridge that gap? What are the theories?
Well, there are several interesting ideas floating around, and they often conflict, which adds to the complexity. One approach is to treat the human who gave the prompt or directed the AI as the author, sort of like how a photographer uses a camera. The AI is just a very sophisticated tool. Another idea uses the work-for-hire concept. If a company develops and uses its AI to create something, maybe the company owns the copyright, just like if an employee created it. Then there's a more radical view. If there's no significant human input, maybe the AI's output should just enter the public domain immediately, free for everyone to use, which could spur innovation in different ways. And finally, some are proposing a completely new type of right, a sui generis right, specifically designed for AI creations, acknowledging they're different from human works.
Wow, that's a lot of different potential paths. Each one sounds like it would have pretty big consequences.
Huge consequences. And because there's no consensus, either within countries or internationally, we're seeing practical problems now. We're seeing more legal disputes popping up over who owns AI-generated IP. Licensing models get completely unclear. If an AI makes a hit song, who gets the royalties? Who can legally say yes or no to using it?
So massive uncertainty for businesses actually trying to use this stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about game developers using AI for character art or environments, or music producers using AI for soundtracks, or marketing agencies generating ad copy and visuals with AI. If you can't clearly own or license what you're creating and selling, it becomes incredibly risky. Investment might shy away, projects get put on hold, entire business models built around AI content are on shaky legal ground. A film studio, for instance, might hesitate to rely heavily on AI for script elements if they fear a lawsuit down the line about ownership. It really impacts the commercial viability of AI in creative fields.
So with all that legal fog still swirling, what's the practical takeaway? What should you, as a listener, be doing if your organization is using or creating AI content?
The advice coming from the sources is pretty consistent. Don't wait for the courts or legislators to sort it all out, because that could take years. Instead, focus on what you can control. Establish clear internal policies now about content ownership. Decide within your organization how you're going to attribute AI-generated work. Will it be credited to the user who prompted it, to the team that developed the AI tool, to the company itself? Having clear internal rules, documented policies, helps manage expectations and, crucially, can help prevent future disputes or litigation. It provides a framework to operate within, even while the external legal landscape is still evolving.
Okay, that makes sense. Proactive internal clarity. Now let's shift from creation to deception, moving into the realm of deepfakes. This feels like it's escalating quickly.
It really is. Deepfakes, those incredibly realistic but totally fake AI-generated videos or audio clips, they've gone from being sort of a curious novelty to a genuine global threat. And the sophistication is alarming. They can be weaponized now to do serious damage, ruin reputations overnight, swing elections with targeted disinformation, commit sophisticated financial fraud by impersonating executives. The list goes on. It's serious enough that the UN is calling for global standards to detect and control them. That tells you the scale of the international concern about how these fakes are eroding trust and truth online.
So what's being done to fight back? What are the countermeasures experts are working on?
There are several key lines of defense emerging. One major push is for robust watermarking of all AI-generated media. This isn't necessarily a visible watermark. Often it's hidden metadata, like a digital fingerprint, embedded in the file. This creates a kind of digital provenance, a verifiable trail, showing if, when, and how content was generated or modified. It helps trace things back. Alongside that, we need better verification systems that can authenticate real footage, using things like cryptographic signatures to prove that a video or image hasn't been tampered with since it was originally captured. And maybe one of the most promising areas is developing on-device AI detection tools. Imagine your phone or computer being able to flag potentially manipulated content in real time as you encounter it.
Real-time detection on your own device.
That sounds powerful. It could be a game changer for speed and privacy. The latest AI Copilot PCs, for example, might soon come with this kind of deepfake detection built right in. This means you could get instant verification without sending the content, which might be sensitive, off to a cloud server for analysis. Faster detection, better privacy. That's the goal. We're already seeing initiatives like Microsoft's Content Credentials. It uses open standards to embed secure metadata into images and videos and essentially acts like a nutrition label for digital content, showing its origin and history. Tools like these are becoming absolutely essential to rebuild some trust in what we see and hear online.
Okay, crucial tools for a tricky problem. Now let's transition to another major ethical challenge, one that might be less obvious than a deepfake, but potentially more widespread in its impact. AI bias. This isn't just a niche academic worry, is it? The sources say algorithmic bias is everywhere. It's influencing really critical decisions in healthcare, criminal justice, finance, even who gets hired for a job. And as AI gets adopted more widely, like in legal arbitration or those smarter Google Finance tools, the reach of this bias just grows, right?
Absolutely. And it's important to be clear about what we mean by AI bias. It's when an AI system consistently produces prejudiced or unfair results. It's not random error, it's systematic. Often this bias unfortunately mirrors the existing inequalities we already have in society. So the AI might discriminate based on race, gender, age, socioeconomic status, things like that. It essentially learns our own biases from the data we feed it.
And how does that actually happen? Is it always intentional?
Not necessarily intentional malice, no. Sometimes it's an unintended consequence. Maybe the AI is optimized for accuracy on one metric or to minimize financial risk, and that indirectly leads to biased outcomes for certain groups. But the root cause is usually the data. AI systems learn by finding patterns in massive data sets. If that data reflects historical societal biases, and most historical data does because it reflects our history, the AI learns those biases too. And worse, it can sometimes amplify them because it applies them consistently and at scale.
Can you give an example?
Sure, think about hiring. If an AI is trained on decades of hiring data from a company or industry where historically men were predominantly hired for certain roles, the AI might learn that pattern as successful hiring. Then, even if programmed to be neutral, it might start unfairly penalizing equally qualified female applicants because they don't fit the historical pattern it learned. It perpetuates the existing gap. Or in law enforcement, if an algorithm is trained on crime statistics data that comes from areas that were historically over-policed, the AI might recommend sending more police back to those same areas, creating a feedback loop of biased policing, even if the underlying crime rates aren't actually higher.
That really shows how easily it can creep in and scale up. What are some of the impacts we're seeing across different sectors?
The impacts are significant and deeply concerning. In healthcare, AI bias can lead to things like misdiagnosis or unequal access to vital treatments. This isn't just an abstract risk, it has real-world health consequences. There was a really striking study published in Science magazine, you might have seen it. It looked at a widely used algorithm in the US that helps decide which patients get access to extra care management programs. The study found the algorithm was significantly biased against Black patients. It predicted they were healthier than they actually were, based on healthcare cost data, which is itself biased because Black patients historically have faced barriers leading to lower spending.
Wow. So fewer Black patients got the extra help they needed.
Exactly. And when the researchers adjusted the algorithm to remove that specific bias, the number of Black patients qualifying for the extra care nearly doubled. It showed a massive hidden disparity driven by the algorithm. On the flip side, another paper in Nature Medicine showed that carefully designed algorithms, trained on diverse data, could actually help doctors treat chronic pain more equitably across different racial groups. So it shows the technology can be part of the solution if developed responsibly.
So healthcare is a big one. What about other areas?
Well, in finance, bias can mean unfair credit scoring. People from minority or lower income groups might be denied loans or credit cards, not based on their actual creditworthiness, but because the algorithm has learned bias patterns. This fuels financial exclusion and attracts regulatory attention. In law enforcement, as we touched on, biased algorithms used for things like predicting crime hotspots or even informing sentencing recommendations can lead to wrongful arrests or unjust sentences, further eroding trust. And in human resources, biased AI tools used for screening resumes or evaluating candidates can perpetuate discrimination, filtering out qualified people from diverse backgrounds before a human even sees their application. Businesses miss out on talent, and inequality gets baked in.
You mentioned an analogy earlier, something about a mouse.
Yes, that was from James McKim Jr. at Franklin Pierce School of Law. He made the point that bias in technology isn't new. He held up a standard ergonomic mouse and said, "Who's this biased against? Left-handed people." It's a simple illustration that design choices, even in hardware, often reflect assumptions or cater to a majority, creating inherent biases. But, and this is the crucial difference with AI, that mouse impacts one left-handed person at a time. An AI algorithm can make biased decisions affecting millions of people almost instantaneously. The speed and scale are unprecedented, magnifying the impact far beyond something like a poorly designed mouse.
That really clarifies the unique danger of AI bias compared to, say, individual human bias. The scale is just different.
Massively different. While we know humans are biased, we can sometimes detect it, challenge it, maybe even correct it through training or awareness. An individual human makes decisions relatively slowly, but an AI can make thousands, even millions of decisions in seconds, applying its bias consistently across huge populations, often invisibly. That potential for widespread, rapid, and often hidden harm is what makes AI bias such a critical issue to address.
And can you break down those differences a bit more? Detection, speed, accountability.
Sure. Detection. Human bias, while sometimes subtle, is often observable in interactions or patterns of behavior. We have social cues. AI bias operates inside complex algorithms, often like a black box, making its decisions seem objective or neutral even when they're not. It's harder to see. Speed and scale. As we said, a human makes one decision at a time. An AI can make countless decisions simultaneously, affecting potentially millions globally. The impact scales incredibly quickly. Accountability. With a human decision, you usually know who made it and can hold them accountable. With AI, figuring out why a biased decision was made and who is ultimately responsible. The developer. The data provider, the user, can be incredibly difficult. This accountability gap is a major challenge.
And for businesses listening, what are the concrete consequences of letting AI bias run unchecked? It sounds like more than just bad PR.
Oh, much more. The impacts hit hard. First, reputational damage. If your company is caught using biased AI, the public backlash can be swift and severe. You lose customer trust, brand value plummets, and rebuilding that reputation is incredibly difficult. Second, very real legal and compliance risks. Regulations like the EU AI Act or GDPR have teeth. Non-compliance due to biased AI can lead to massive fines, costly lawsuits, and intense regulatory scrutiny. Think discrimination lawsuits in hiring or lending. And third, it leads to operational inefficiencies. Biased AI leads to flawed decisions. Maybe you're rejecting great job candidates, missing out on entire market segments because your marketing AI is biased, or making poor financial forecasts. In healthcare, it's misdiagnosis. In finance, it's bad loan decisions. It's not just unethical, it's often bad business, undermining performance and growth.
Okay, so the risks are clear and substantial. What can actually be done? What are the strategies for building a more responsible AI future?
The sources point towards establishing strong ethical guardrails. These aren't just nice-to-haves, they're becoming essential. Key principles include transparency, being upfront about when AI is being used, especially in decision-making or content creation. People have a right to know. User control, giving individuals more agency over how AI affects them, allowing customization and control over their data. This builds trust. Bias prevention. This needs to be proactive, not reactive. Actively testing models for bias throughout their development and deployment, using diverse data sets and continuously refining them. It's an ongoing effort. And ethics oversight, bringing in diverse perspectives before an AI system is launched. Consulting multidisciplinary ethics boards people from law, sociology, ethics, not just tech, to catch potential issues early.
Those sound like good guiding principles. What about practical steps businesses can take right now to mitigate bias in the AI they use or build?
Absolutely, there are concrete mitigation strategies. First and foremost, focus on diverse and representative data. You have to actively ensure your training data reflects the diversity of the population the AI will impact. This means auditing your data sources, identifying biases and gaps, and actively working to correct imbalances. It's foundational. Second, implement strong AI governance frameworks. This means having clear internal policies, roles, and responsibilities focused on fairness, accountability, and transparency. Regular audits against these frameworks are crucial for compliance and catching issues. Third, consider human-in-the-loop systems. Don't fully automate everything, especially in high-stakes decisions. Build in points where a human reviews, overrides, or guides the AI. This can catch biases the AI might miss. And fourth, continuous monitoring and auditing. AI models aren't static, they can drift over time. You need real-time systems to monitor their performance, check for emerging biases, and flag problems quickly before they escalate.
That makes sense. It's an ongoing process, not a one-time fix. You also mentioned content moderation tools earlier.
Yes, that's another important piece of the puzzle, especially with the rise of AI-generated content alongside user content. Tools like Microsoft's Azure AI Content Safety are becoming crucial. Its purpose is basically to help platforms detect harmful content, whether it's generated by users or by AI across text and images. Things like hate speech, violence, sexual content, self-harm material. It offers different severity levels, so moderation can be nuanced, and supports many languages over 100, with specific training in major ones like English, Spanish, Chinese, etc. It even has a content safety studio where companies can set up their own customized workflows. Tools like this are vital for online marketplaces, gaming platforms, social media, anyone trying to maintain a safer online environment in the face of potentially harmful AI or user content.
So bringing this all together, what does this mean for our listeners, for you, navigating this complex landscape as a professional or even just as a citizen? It seems like 2025 is going to demand a new level of awareness and maybe new skills.
I think that's absolutely right. The coming year will likely bring new compliance rules, new expectations, but also new career opportunities for people who understand AI ethics and governance. For professionals, a few concrete steps come to mind. First, stay informed. Keep up with global policy developments, the EU AI Act, what's happening in the US, Asia. Things are moving fast. Second, upskill. Look into certifications or courses in AI ethics, governance, responsible AI, maybe even AI security. These skills are increasingly valuable. Third, actively audit the AI tools you use or are responsible for. Regularly check them for bias, accuracy, compliance. Don't just assume they're fine. And fourth, engage in the dialogue. Participate in discussions, industry groups, public forums. Your perspective matters in shaping how these technologies are developed and deployed ethically.
And it's not just for professionals, right? As consumers, as citizens, do we have a role?
Definitely. There was a great point made in that Franklin Pierce law discussion on bias. The suggestion was simple. Ask questions. Ask the developers, ask the manufacturers, what have you done to minimize the negative impacts of bias in this products? Even if you don't get a perfect answer immediately, the act of asking matters. If enough people ask, companies notice. Consumer demand for ethical AI can be a powerful driver for change. Your voice counts.
That's empowering. We can push for better.
And that leads to perhaps the most crucial takeaway, a point many experts emphasize. It's about mindset. Bias is universal. It's historic. It exists in humans. It will continue to exist in humans and in technology forever. There's no way to just remove any sort of bias completely. Now, that might sound a bit bleak, but it's actually a call for a more realistic, pragmatic approach.
So if we can't eliminate bias entirely, what do?
We shift the focus. Instead of chasing an impossible ideal of zero bias, we focus on recognizing and mitigating disparate impacts. Where does the AI system disproportionately harm certain groups? The goal then becomes doing more research, more development that specifically centers the experiences of those who are most negatively affected by bias. It's about consciously designing algorithms with people in mind who are often forgotten, as one expert put it, making sure we're building systems that strive for equitable outcomes, even if perfect neutrality is out of reach. That's the path towards truly responsible AI.
A really important reframing. So wrapping up our deep dive today.
Yeah, the core message really is that AI Ethics 2025 isn't just a buzzword. It's absolutely fundamental. It's the bedrock for building an AI ecosystem we can actually trust. That means pushing for those clear legal frameworks, getting serious about deepfake prevention, and embedding responsible innovation practices, prioritizing fairness and well-being into everything we build and deploy. These aren't optional extras. They're essential.
Absolutely. We see AI's power everywhere now, in those co-pilot PCs, the on-device models integrating into our lives. But that power demands we actively manage the risks. The ethical foundations we build today, the rules we set, the questions we keep asking, they will literally shape how AI impacts all of us tomorrow. Will it lift everyone up, or will it deepen existing divides? And that leaves me with a final thought for you, our listener, to maybe chew on. Given AI speed and scale, and accepting that some level of bias might be unavoidable, how do we as a society decide what an acceptable range of algorithmic bias even looks like? Especially when it varies so much depending on the application, healthcare versus movie recommendations, for example. And maybe more importantly, what's your role as an individual user or citizen in actively challenging or shaping those outcomes in the years ahead? How do we move from being passive recipients to active participants in shaping our AI future? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the really complex but absolutely critical world of AI ethics. Keep learning, keep asking questions, keep thinking critically. We hope you feel more informed and maybe a bit more empowered to engage with this technology shaping our world.